March the 23rd, 2020, the day freedom died in the United Kingdom. Five years ago today, the UK government told us to stay home, protect the NHS, and save lives. Overnight, we were locked down, not because we were sick, not because we were dangerous, but because we were told to be afraid. Afraid of one another, afraid of breathing fresh air, afraid of hugging our children, afraid of asking questions. This is not just an anniversary, it is a moment of reckoning. Because what happened 5 years ago didn't just disrupt our lives, it changed everything. Our rights, our health system, our economy, our relationships, and even how we see the world. So today, I want to speak to those who remember, not with nostalgia, but with clarity. This monologue is for the ones who refuse to forget. Part 1. The Madness Unleashed. Let's call it for what it was. A coordinated psychological operation. A real-time obedience test. They shut down society overnight without a vote, without a cost-benefit analysis, and without any clear exit plan. We were simply told to comply, and regrettably, millions did. Parks and playgrounds were taped off like crime scenes. Police handed out fines to people walking along the beach alone. Drones were deployed to shame hikers in the countryside. Children were kept out of school for months, and when they returned, they were masked and distanced. Pregnant women were forced to attend scans alone. Families couldn't visit dying relatives in the hospital, and funerals were limited. But of course, you could still go to Tesco. How was any of this science? It wasn't. It was social conditioning. And if you dared to question it, you were labeled a conspiracy theorist, a grandma killer, or worse. Even respected doctors, scientists, and researchers were censored, smeared, and silenced. The media didn't investigate, they cheered it on, and they became the official mouthpiece for the state. Part 2. What we still have not faced. Here's the part that's hard to swallow. Most people still don't realize what we lost. We didn't just lose our freedom of movement. We lost trust in institutions. We lost trust in each other. And we lost trust in truth itself. Because the impact of lockdowns wasn't just temporary. It was generational. Suicides amongst children rose. Mental health deteriorated on a mass scale. Domestic abuse went unreported. Patients missed life-saving treatment. Millions were plunged into economic hardship. Small businesses were decimated while big tech and big pharma cashed in. And yet we were told it was worth it. Just for a few weeks, and then a few months, and then a few years. We were told it's to protect the NHS. Yet the NHS became a COVID-only service. Cancer patients were sent home. Early diagnosis appointments were cancelled. Elderly patients were discharged into care homes, triggering thousands of preventable deaths. These weren't accidents. These were policy decisions. And to this day, no one has been held accountable. Part 3. The lies we were told. We were lied to about everything. Not just the models, not just the lockdowns, everything. And yet, has there been any real honesty, any accountability, any humility, any apology? Let's just list a few of the lies that they still won't admit. The true origin of the virus, the actual fatality rate, the existence of safe, effective, repurposed treatments, the deliberate refusal to offer said treatments, the promotion of treatments that harmed more than they helped, the manipulation of COVID death counts with those who died with COVID versus from it, the abuse of PCR testing to inflate case numbers, the entire masking debacle, the overblown efficacy of vaccines, the ignored safety signals, the gaslighting of the vaccine injured, the devastating impact of lockdowns, the double standards of politicians who partied while you suffered, the brutal censorship of dissenting voices, and the absurdity of vaccine passports that did nothing for transmission but segregate society. And I could go on, but what's worse than the lies is silence. The quiet backpedaling, the shifting of the narrative without ever admitting fault. We were gaslit, we were coerced, we were dehumanized, and still they say, let's move on. But some of us will never forget, because our trust in public health, in government, in science, and in the media has been irreversibly shattered. Part 4, what must be remembered. This isn't about bitterness, it's about truth, and truth matters, especially when it's inconvenient truth. So let's remember a few things clearly. Authoritarianism didn't arrive with tanks, it came with slogans. Fear was weaponized. Trust the science became don't ask questions. Safety was used to justify cruelty. And the greater good became a battering ram for obedience. And we have to understand this. If we let the memory hold this entire chapter, it will happen again. Whether it's for another virus or maybe a climate emergency, maybe for digital surveillance or central bank digital currencies, whatever the excuse, the precedent has now been set. Emergency powers will override human rights if we let them. And regrettably, most of the public has already shown that they will comply if the fear is strong enough. Part 5. Who must be held accountable? Accountability is not revenge, it's justice. And we must hold to account the politicians who impose measures without evidence or an exit plan, the advisors who manipulated data and models, the media outlets who stoked fear and shut down dissent, the big tech platforms who erased voices of reason in real time, and the public health officials who forgot their oath. And of course, let us not forget the pharmaceutical giants who profited from mandates and emergency use authorizations. And yes, even all the people who knew it was wrong but stayed silent. There's still time to find your voice, but not forever. Here's my closing thoughts. 5 years on, the world now looks very different, but the fight for truth and freedom has only just begun. This monologue isn't just about remembering the past, it's about protecting the future, because freedom does not come with a guarantee. It is not given, it is claimed. So let us remember, let us resist, and let us rebuild on a foundation of truth, courage, and good conscience. To those who stood firm, you are not alone. And to those who are still silent, it's not too late. To those who orchestrated this insanity, we will not forget. Not now, not ever. If this message resonated with you, then please do share it. Let this be a ripple that becomes a wave. And if you have your own story from those dark days, then please post it in the comments. Let's document the truth before they attempt to rewrite it, because history belongs to those who remember. My name is Astin-Gregory. Thank you for watching, and remember, live free.